Hello, I'm Jake Baum, and welcome to the Blitz Talk Show, a bi-weekly talk show where we cover major news in American sports, such as baseball, football, and basketball, sometimes even occasionally more. There was quite a lot that happened in the sports world this past week, or two, so let's get started. We turn now to our NBA analyst and commentator, Ruben Raju. All right, Ruben, how are you doing today?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm great. Thank you for asking. So, the Miami Heat beat the Celtics in 6 games this past week, and the Lakers beat the Denver Nuggets in 5 games to advance to the finals. Let's start off with the Lakers. How did they advance to the finals? If you could just describe their road to the finals.
Well, the Lakers were pretty much a powerhouse all season. They really played well throughout the season and the playoffs. Especially in the bubble, they were playing really well with LeBron and AD. Once playoffs started against the Trailblazers, they lost that first game, but then they came back to win 4-1. Same thing with the Rockets. They were down 1-0, and then they came back to win 4-1. They were just playing exceptionally well, with LeBron and AD, both of them putting up great stats. You got other players like Rajon Rondo who came in later in the playoffs during the Nuggets series to help a lot with the fundamentals of how the Lakers played. Running LeBron at point was a risky move that everybody thought would turn out well because LeBron is such an exceptional player, and it really worked for Frank Vogel and the Lakers. They were easily able to take the Nuggets in 5 games. It wasn't that hard. They lost that fourth game, but apart from that, the Lakers played exceptionally well, and it was kind of set that they would go to the finals.
Of course, now turning over to the other side, the Miami Heat, who were some of the stars other than Jimmy Butler that helped the Heat beat the Celtics and ultimately get to the finals?
Apart from Jimmy Butler, Tyler Hero was a big role in the Heat's success to get to the finals. Especially in the playoffs, he kind of showed his full shooting capabilities. He was putting up some great stats, especially in the Celtics series. Um, uh, Bam Adebayo also had some great defensive plays. Bam Adebayo, nobody really thinks of his name when you think of, a top player on the Heat, but he did have a really big role. The Heat have a really young team, and nobody expected that they'd make it this far. But they played really well, especially against the Celtics. They beat the Bucks, which was very unexpected. Beating the Bucks in 6 games is not easy. Bucks are a good team with Giannis, but after Giannis got injured, it was just, it was a little easier then, and so the Heat had a challenge, but they did pull through.
And of course, Giannis Antetokounmpo of the Milwaukee Bucks and MVP last year and possibly an MVP this year. So why did the Celtics lose? What did the Heat have that the Celtics were lacking in this series?
Honestly, I think that the Celtics were just outplayed. I mean, the Heat were playing very well on both ends of the court, defensively and offensively. Jason Tatum was playing really well, but as you've seen with a lot of other teams, it can't just be one man doing it all. Jason Tatum put up some great stats, but everybody expected Gordon Hayward and you know Kemba Walker to put up some amazing stats as well, which they weren't able to get done. And so, as you see, like a couple seasons ago when LeBron was on the Lakers without AD, it was hard for him. They didn't even make playoffs because basketball is not a one man sport. So you need that at least one other person to give you that little push that you need. And so I think the Celtics weren't able to find that, weren't able to get that at click during the playoffs, and eventually that led to their loss.
All right, so let's get back to predictions. So the Miami Heat versus the Los Angeles Lakers. Now, with the Lakers, it seems after AD and LeBron, who where are they lacking depth? Where the Heat might not be lacking that same depth.
Well, with just AD and LeBron, you have a big powerhouse in the paint, whereas the shooting from AD and LeBron may not be as beneficial to the team. But you have other players like Alex Caruso, Rajon Rondo, Danny Green who can make those threes. And I think ultimately it's going to come down to who can use that long range to their benefit the best. Tyler Hero is a great shooter. Um, As we saw in the Bucks series or the Celtics series, he's deadly from 3 point land once he gets it started. Um, the thing with the Heat is that with Tyler Hero and Jimmy Butler and Andre Iguodala and Bam Adebayo, they have a kind of well-rounded team that helps them both outside the paint and inside. Whereas the Lakers have that same concept, but their focus more is on the inside of the paint. So you can expect the Lakers to get more boards, the Lakers to push more into the paint, drive more. Um, Definitely, there'll be a lot more foul calls for the Lakers than there will be for the Heat because there's going to be a lot of driving into the paint for sure. Because the Heat played the 3 point land game very well, whereas the Lakers push towards the paint.
Of course. So, any final predictions from you? I know ESPN's Basketball Power Index predicts the Lakers with a 57.8% chance to win. How about you, Ruben?
I think the Lakers are going to take it home at least in 5 games, 5 games, 6 games tops. I think the Lakers can pull it off. Heat are good, but the Lakers have just been playing exceptionally all season, and they're this close to the chip. There's nothing that's going to stop them.
All right. Thank you so much, Ruben. We really appreciate it and hope to have you on in the future.
Of course, thank you for having me.
Thank you. All right. So, we now go to Aaron Heyman for the latest in the NFL. All right. How's it going, Aaron?
Good. How are you?
I'm doing great. So let's get straight into things. Let's start off in the NFL with going all in. The Bills beat the Rams 35 to 32 with a comeback drive for the Bills towards the end of the game after almost surrendering a 25-point lead to the Rams. Josh Allen again over 300 passing yards and a passer rating of over 125. The Bills blew it while surrendering a lead. Rams blew it when Allen came back on that last drive. And then some people think the refs blew it on that last PI call that allowed the Bills to score on that final drive. So what was the deal there? Was that pass interference that allowed the Bills to score on that last play?
Personally, I think it wasn't pass interference. I think that there was contact there, but I think on both sides, and especially going with the controversial call earlier on the John Johnson interception, that I think I was kind of at peace with that call. Wow, I don't think I mean, I think the Rams shouldn't have been put in that shouldn't have put themselves in that position in the first place. But the Bills are great. I mean, Josh Allen is a big play quarterback, and he's super fast, super strong, and throws a great ball. And adding on to that, I mean, it showed it in the first half is their amazing defense. I mean, letting the Rams come into the red zone, but then just stopping them when they get there. Even though they did allow a lead, they they were able to close the Rams out when it mattered.
Exactly. So that begs the question, are the Bills the real deal here?
I think so. Yeah, I think that finally having Tom Brady out of the division has kind of ignited a spark for them, and I think that team is a pretty complete team. I mean, I think the Stephon Diggs addition was huge just because it gives Josh Allen so much more to do on offense with the ball, and I think Devin Singletary is a really good tough runner. And like I said before, the defense is extremely talented. Tre'Davious White is one of the best cornerbacks in the league. They got a great pass rush, and I think this team can go far.
Of course, and Devin Singletary, and now with the addition of Zach Moss, who was injured last week, but he will still be a great addition for them. All right, so now let's go to the Detroit-Arizona game. Detroit with the upset. So here we have Kyler Murray, Kyler the creator of interceptions. 3 picks for Kyler this week, 3 interceptions that he threw in their surprising loss to Detroit. Now, Stafford had a great game. He had a passer rating of over 119, but it wasn't just him. Where was the disappointment for the Cardinals, and can they get back to where they played and how they played the first 2 weeks?
Definitely, they can. I mean, Kyler Murray is still a young quarterback. People have to understand, and he's going to make mistakes, and he's playing a Lions team that is not as bad as their record may have looked. I mean, they almost won to the Bears if DeAndre Swift didn't drop that touchdown pass. And this is a team that now added Kenny Galladay, and they can be competitive. I mean, Matthew Stafford is a great quarterback, and that's really what you need. So I think Kyler Murray is still great. I think the team is really good. Obviously, they kept it close for the whole game, but mistakes are going to happen. Um, that's just part of him, getting better, each game.
Yeah, and it wasn't too long ago when Matthew Stafford had an amazing year where he had something like 9 comeback drives in the season. He was known for his comebacks. Had an amazing season. All right, now keeping it in the NFC North, we have the Saints being defeated by the Green Bay Packers on Sunday Night Football this past week. So my preseason prediction for the best QB in the NFL was Aaron Rodgers, and it was an unpopular opinion with Mahomes and Lamar Jackson, but it looks like it's coming to fruition. I mean, he has another stellar game, no interceptions, 3 touchdowns, while leading the Packers to another very impressive victory. What is your opinion on how Aaron Rodgers is playing this season?
Yeah, I think well, I wouldn't put him as the top quarterback in the league. I think he is criminally underrated. He is fantastic and he showed it all the time. When he's had receivers from undrafted that walk-ons and he's done a lot with them. I mean, you see with Devontae Adams being injured, Alan Lazard, Robert
Stepping up.
Tonian, Marquez Valdez-Scantling, doesn't matter. He finds them and he delivers a beautiful ball. I think that I think he's still overlooked with these younger guys. And while I think, Patrick Mahomes, Russell Wilson right now have the edge, you can't overlook Rodgers as a top quarterback in the NFL.
Of course, and turning to the Saints side of it, the better story is always in the losing locker room. Now, Drew Brees looked good as well. He didn't throw any interceptions. He had a good game. But the Saints defense just looks like it's not living up to the high bar that was set for them before the season started. Are the Saints going to be able to rebound from this 1-2 start with their subpar defense, as well as you mentioned earlier, the Bills feel better with Tom Brady not in their division? Now, is there added pressure on Drew Brees with Tom Brady in their division?
Yeah, I mean, I think the Saints are kind of used to starting off slow. I think that they not do not have that much to worry about. I mean, they show that they can beat Tampa Bay already in Week 1. I think Drew Brees misses Michael Thomas. But he's still able to find Kamara a lot. I think he misses that receiver he can throw downfield to. I think that's a big part of it. I mean, he's still having trouble finding Emmanuel Sanders uh, and Traquan Smith. I think that in terms of the Saints defense, that yeah, I mean, they got a lot of talent there, but there has been some failures. I mean, they're playing some great quarterbacks and some tough offenses. So I'm not gonna put too much pressure on them yet. I hope that in big games later on they can hold their own, which they should be able to.
Of course, yeah, I'm sure it won't be that difficult for the Saints to come back from this. Now, turning to Patrick Mahomes, the $500 million man. We all projected Mahomes to be great this season. That's not too surprising. Even though he played stellarly, the real story, like I said, always lies in the losing locker room. Lamar Jackson, who I have said from the beginning, he is a running back playing quarterback. I don't care what anyone says. He had only 97 passing yards and a passer rating under 75. The presence of once Pro Bowler Mark Ingram was underwhelming and irrelevant. What's the deal with the Ravens with this quarterback? I mean, is this just a minor setback or is it a sign of what is to come in the near future for the Baltimore Ravens?
Yeah, the Ravens played the best team in the NFL. They played, I think, a team that will probably win the Super Bowl again. I mean, this team already has an amazing offense and then now has a very underrated defense. Their pass rush is fantastic with Chris Jones, Frank Clark coming off on each edge. And now their secondary with Ladarius Sneed, the rookie cornerback, really coming on. I mean, they gave Lamar Jackson trouble. He really had like no time to throw. He was really just being harassed in the pocket. With that being said, I think that Lamar has to show that he's can kind of come back to what he was last year. I think overall their receivers are not really that fantastic. I mean, Mark Andrews as a tight end is more of a red zone guy, and Hollywood Brown hasn't done much this year. I think I think that they maybe need to pick up another receiver at the trade deadline, and Lamar Jackson kind of needs to step it up.
I agree with all of that. That makes perfect sense. But the question is, will Lamar Jackson step it up? All right, thank you so much. So turning to the fantasy portion of this week, I'm just going to mention 3 players off the bat that would be great fantasy pickups in the coming weeks. Let's start off with Ryan Tannehill for the Tennessee Titans quarterback. He's averaging 19.6 points per game with a very successful Tennessee offense. Do you think he'd be a good pickup in fantasy, Aaron?
I do. I think Ryan Tannehill is really good. I would pick him up. I wouldn't start him this next week against Pittsburgh. Their defense is really good. But I would definitely, if Ryan Tannehill is available, I would definitely pick him up as a backup quarterback that you can eventually start with when he gets better matchups. He's really good. I mean, he doesn't make a lot of mistakes. He finds the end zone, and I think that's a good pickup.
Of course, and his division isn't the best, so he will have multiple games where he would be a good start. Next, we have Cole Beasley. Josh Allen is known for getting the ball to many different targets in the Buffalo offense, but Beasley has so far been one of his favorites, averaging just under 7 targets a game. Is he a sleeper pick this week versus the Raiders?
Definitely. I mean, especially in PPR leagues, when you have guys that get that many targets, I think you want to look out for those. I mean, Josh Allen looks really good, and there's plenty of receptions to share there. I mean, even though just Stephon Diggs is the main guy, I think that Cole Beasley has potential to maybe not find the end zone, but get a lot of catches and just be good enough at flex where it's worth picking him up.
Of course, and especially with John Brown possibly being out this week. Okay, and lastly, over to the defensive side of things, let's look at the Buccaneers defense, averaging just under 11 points per game and facing a Chargers offense that did not do well against a subpar Carolina defense. Bucs have Shaquille Barrett, Jason Pierre-Paul, Devin White, Levante David, rookie stud Antoine Winfield. Justin Herbert may have been good against the Chiefs in his first start in week 2, but maybe that was just because the Chiefs had very little to no time to prepare for him. When the Panthers had time to prepare for him, he didn't play as well. So now that the Bucs have time to prepare for Justin Herbert, would they be a great start this week against a rookie quarterback?
I think so. I think Herbert showed that he's still going to make a lot of mistakes. Only his second game of his career last year, and this going into his third. I don't expect him to be perfect. Expect him to turn the ball over, especially against an amazing front seven by the Buccaneers. I think that while their secondary has some holes, they're not facing a quarterback that can really shell them deep, and I wouldn't worry about that much. So I think the Buccaneers is a really good play.
All right. Perfect. Well, thank you so much, Aaron. We really appreciate it and hope to have you on in the future.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you so much. All right. Thank you guys so much for joining us today. If you like this and think we should keep making these videos, please like, comment, subscribe down below. It would really mean a lot to us and motivate us to keep making videos going forward, as well as trying to produce quality content for all you guys at home. So thank you so much, and we'll hope to see you soon.